Hello, people. It's me. It's Jenny WereWolf, the one and only. And folks, this is another difficult video to record. Not just because I had any issues with recording or scheduling or anything, but as I was just putting down everything I want to discuss about this, all my points, it was just setting out to be a sad video. You'll see what I mean as it goes on. But yeah, this is meant to be part 2 of looking at the West Indian players in this season of IPL. Last time we looked at who was retained, and this time we're looking at who's drafted. And ideally, there should be more to discuss, because when you look at who's retained, it's fairly obvious that they will play. But when you're looking at who's drafted, you have to consider how they will fit into the team, the roles they might be given. But yeah, as I was looking to all the points I wanted to discuss, it just wasn't sounding as good, but you'll see what I mean. So now, let's just jump right into this. First up, we've got Mr. Shamar Joseph going back to Lucknow Super Giants. Now, I have the order who I think is most likely to play. So the reason I went Shamar first was because, well, one, he's also the only person who was given the right to match. So last year he was with Lucknow as a replacement player. So he got one game. Didn't go that well. But yeah, it's good to see him go back to that team he's familiar with. They've got, I think they got They got Zahir Khan as bowling coach, so that'll at least help him. Now, the reason I said that he's probably the more likely person to play is because when you look at the Lucknow squad, when it comes to the overseas players, there are a few issues here. First of all, they have 6 when you can have a maximum of 8. So when you consider the options that they have, it's not many. So that's the first issue. And then secondly, it's apart from Shamar, it's all batters. So you might end up with a scenario where the entire top 6 could have 3 overseas batters, and then it might just be Shamar. But when you really look at it, Shamar might definitely have to play, because when you consider it, you have 2 definite starters, Puran and Miller, like those are set. But then you have Mitch Marsh. Man's fighting up with injury nearly every day of his life now. He is fit and he is there. But said he can't bowl. Would they see him as a bowling option? Maybe. But if you consider him as a possible opener, I don't really know who else you could have to open with him. There's also Adam Markram, but Markram is also very meh. I mean, don't study how Man made over 300 runs in SA20, because I think he had like 4 ducks. So yeah, that's another very risky option. So if you're looking at the ideal 11 for Lucknow, on paper you might end up with Markram and Marsh opening, and then Puran and Miller somewhere in the middle. But I do not see that working at all. There's also Bretsky. I mean, he's also meh in T20s. He's also quite new, so that accounts for his meh. But yeah. Yeah, it's definitely tough, given that the setup of the squad. You kind of have to play Shamar, because you'd imagine it'll have to be Puran and Miller, possibly one of Marsh or Markram. I'm leaning more towards Marsh. And then Shamar could probably come in there. It's just the lack of T20 experience for Shamar could be the only thing holding him back. So there's always have to take into account. He has done slightly better for West Indies in a few matches, but yeah, definitely not ideal. Yeah. But don't forget, Lucknow also has the issue of nearly everybody being injured. Let me see. They have. Let's see. Well, Marches, he's clearly but not fit the bowl, so also put on as somewhat of an injury. Mohsin Khan's also fighting up with injury. I saw something that Avesh Khan might also be injured. Where's Mayank out of? Mayank, well, there we are. Yeah, he's also fighting up with injury, and I think they said he might be ruled out, not for the whole tournament, but at least for the first half. So, yeah, they're missing so much of their quality bowlers. They might have to gamble and play Shamar. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we'll have to see how it goes. So, yeah. Shamar is likely for not all the ideal reasons. But the next person I think is likely to get a chance is Mr. Sheffield Rutherford. Now, I am very happy with Rutherford getting through with a team because GT are my boys. That's my team. Now, sorry, I'm just taking a sip of water. Whew. It's been hot these last few days, folks. It also doesn't help that I had to drive an hour for work the other day because I had a offsite meeting, and my AC picked the perfect day to conk out. I mean, it was miserable. You know, like the faster I was going, the less AC breeze I was getting. It was just tougher. But yeah, like going back to the cricket, yeah, when you look at Sheffield Rutherford in Gujarat Titans this year, it's honestly quite a big up to him because he's likely being seen as the long-term replacement for Mr. Killer Miller and someone of that quality as a finisher. That speaks well of Rutherford to being seen as to be seen as someone who could be that long-term option. But when you look at the squad for GT, there's not as much. How do I say this? There's quite a lot of competition for overseas players in that squad, or rather, not much competition because they have so much people who are sure starters. I mean, like just look at them. Mr. Rashid Khan, definite starter. Oh, Monsieur Joss Butler, also a definite starter. And right below him, Kagiso Rabada. All three of them are very likely to start the playing 11. And you're like, oh, that means me Rutherford could probably get to another spot because they're not likely to play Kotsia as well. But then when you look at the competition for that middle order player or finisher, you've got Kareem Janat from Afghanistan, who I do also rate. As he's also an all rounder. He's here and there. He has put about quite a few innings, but I don't know if he's capable at this level. So that's something that they would also consider. But then you have to look at the only other person who's had IPL experience and who we know could perform at this level in a similar role to Rutherford. But that is Glenjamin Phillips, also known as Superman, because man is just flying all over the field, pulling off stunners. And he could fling down some off spin. I mean, man could keep if he wants to, but I don't think they'll come to that. Imagine being so bored with keeping that you decide to just take up off spin and you're just flying around the field. Funny man. So yeah, if they want to go with Rutherford just as that pure batter, probably at 5 or 6 they could do that. If they want the extra spin option with Phillips, well, just the dynamic in the field, they might be more inclined to go with him. So that's the only thing I see going against Rutherford. But I do think one thing that could go in his favor is that his exploits in ODI cricket could have him be seen as a possible option batting at 4. Maybe 5 as someone who could help build an innings and then shift gears to finish at the end. So there's at least that to consider. But yeah, it's a very packed overseas 11, overseas contingent for the squad. I would like to see Rutherford play. He was with KKR last year as part of the title-winning squad. He also did talk about how they helped him with a lot of training. And I think that's something that could help. I mean, Rutherford could also bowl. We've seen it for West Indies. And while it hasn't worked out, you never know. You could be seeing him get given an over or two. Hopefully just one over, but you never know. Yeah, I don't want to be a situation where man had been working on his bowling so much that we're just shocked to see him opening the bowling. Sorry. Yeah, the thought of Rutherford opening the bowling in any T20 game sounds wild on paper, but it's IPL, you never know. Jokes, people, jokes. Yeah, there's that. Now, the person I think is less likely to make the starting 11 for their team is Romario Shepherd, who has been all over the place, more so in terms of the teams, because man started off with big bucks going to Sunrisers. Then he went base price to Lucknow, played one game actually, but got bowled for a duck first ball just because the Lucknow pitch then was so stink that 100 was a pass score. He did get decent games for Sunrisers, but yeah, just the shift to Lucknow was crazy. Then Mumbai picked him up in a trade, also at base price. He had that incredible game mashing up down bad Nokia. And then after that, nothing. And then Mans found his way to RCB, which is also, they could see him as that big finisher at the end who could give you a few overs. But when you also look at the squad, there's quite a few people who are ahead of him in the pecking order for overseas players. Let's just go through it. Livingston, you'd assume that he's a sure starter. Where is he? I'm just gonna. Oh, there we go. This guy, Mr. Philip Salter. Whew. He's jumping into the 11, leapfrogging everybody. That's two that are pretty nailed. But then Hazelwood, you can't forget about Hazelwood. He's a next beast. Yeah. Then I got Battle, who could also bat and throw down some off spin if needed. Tushara's an interesting one. Just because he's that sling bowler. They might want it. They'll have to consider how they'll play at the Chinnaswamy. So there's also that. And then you got Tim David. Ngidi could also be a backup for Hazelwood, but yeah. Notice how many people I've talked about before I've even gotten to Shepherd. But not just because of the bowling aspect. I mean, Hazelwood, man's quality, he could just pelt down that ball in one spot. It might not work out, but yeah, he just quality. You got Livingston and Battle who could pelt down some off spin. Now, Shepherd does have the advantage, I would say, of being the only pace bowling all rounder. But then you also have to consider the inconsistency of his bowling. Just because, I mean, it's very possible that Shepherd could give you 1 from 30 in his 4 overs one day. But when you have to consider how batting friendly the IPL has been, man could pull up the next day and give you none from 30 in 2 overs. So you already have to consider that. Yeah, I would like to see him be given that chance. But yeah, compared to someone like Rutherford, I guess it all depends on how they've been performing before. Rutherford, you've seen quite a few, mostly in ODI cricket. He has put off a good few wins with Big Bash, so he has that. But then when you look at Shepherd, there honestly hasn't been as much leading up to it, apart from CPL. But that's quite back in October and September. So yeah. But had he played anything? No, because the only other cricket that West Indies would had is for the championship, and then there's also that Bangladesh series. Did he play? I don't remember. I try to forget that Bangladesh series for many reasons. But yeah. We'll have to see how it goes. If they want to take that gamble on him being an all-rounder, then maybe. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. And finally, this is a person I see least likely to play, but not just in terms of disrespect to Powell, but you just have to look at the KKR 11 and you'll see what I mean. Now, big up our West Indies international captain, Mr. Ruffman Powell, and you could tell that this is a pick where Mr. Dwayne Bravo, who's now at Kolkata Knight Riders, as a mentor said, "Countryman, come true, good sir, come join the vibes." And then when you look at the said vibes, you see man might be sitting on the bench taking in vibes for the next month or two, because I do not see a world where Sunil Narayan and Andre Russell do not start your team. I mean, unless both of them are struck down with injury, God forbid, with some water. Yeah. I do not see a world where they do not start it. But then you also have to consider, who is their keeper? I don't even know who's a keeper in this side. Let me see. I think it's this man, Lovely Tsasodia. But then you have to consider, you've got Quinton, who's also quite down bad. Stink, as some would say. Just because man hasn't really done anything since he kind of retired. So it's been quite bad. Yes, he's probably the more established person, but if you want to take that, man's also been pushed down a lot of games, batting at like 3 or 4. and it's like also down bad. But you got Gurbaz who's been there before. Now, man could also be fairly inconsistent, but you'd imagine that he's probably a better chance. But then that's three already. You've got two set with Russell and Ryan. You have to pick a keeper, so you're likely to go with one of Quinton or Gurbaz, probably more so Gurbaz. And then you have to look at the overseas bowling. You've got quality Indian bowling, but do you want to go with someone like Nokia, who was also foul, stink last year? I mean, man, I think he had a death overs economy of 13. That's not something you like to see. That's quite sickening. My goodness. Whew. Stay hydrated, people. Yeah, we're suffering out here. Well, let's say, oh yeah, you also got Spencer Johnson, who I personally rate. He's done really well in Big Bash. So I'm tempted to see him start ahead of Nokia. But that's the case. Yeah, I just don't see how Powell fits in. No, Powell's also someone who could pelt down some ball. But much like Rutherford, that's something you don't want to see very often. So when you take everything into consideration, at most, Powell could just be a backup for Russell, if need be. Like if Russell's knees say they can't make a day, you can just sub in Powell. But then you miss the chance you could have with Russell bowling some good overs. But still, yeah. Don't disrespect for Powell, but that's a tough lineup. Yeah, man's been in a few tough spots lately because first season for Delhi, it was not good at all. He took quite a few games to get used to it. It did work. I mean, he did pull off quite a few good innings, but then the following year, Delhi was just horrendous. Man was all over the place. Play one game, bat at 8, get flung away, come back the next game, and just yeah. When Rajasthan pulled off that big bid in one got him last year, I'm like, oh, okay, man might be given a good chance. But man was only seeing his impacts of batting at 8. Like, massive disrespect to the man. There were times where Ashwin was coming in ahead of him, and you're like, while that is disrespectful on paper, you could say, oh, it could just be like the collapses, so just sending man in to hold the line for Paul to come in. But they also kind of did the same with Hetmeyer, where man was just flung in, or rather stuck in at 6 or 7, just to try and win games with a finisher. But I mean, yeah, it was a disservice to the batting quality that both of them had. I mean, I didn't see Powell being retained, and then also didn't see Hetmeyer being retained, but that shocked me. So yeah, and that's what I mean when I said this is a sad video, because 3 out of the 4 people here, it's kind of hard for them to make the 11s. Powell might definitely just sit on the bench. Shepherd might be stuck on the bench. So that's 2 out of 4. Rutherford, I could be seeing given a chance, but his direct competition is someone who could bowl and is such a good fielder, so he has that working against him. And the only person who I see making the starting 11 is a man who's barely played T20 cricket. Yeah. And as I mentioned, the best part is Rutherford is the only person who got more than 1 bid. Everybody else, Powell, Bravo put up his hand, no one else was like, alright, you take him. Go at base price. Shepherd, RCB put up their hand, you could take him. Base price. Rutherford, I think he got, well, I think base price would have been 1.5 crore, he went up to 2.6. I know Mumbai was one of the teams bidding for him, and then Gujarat ended up winning it. I don't know if anybody else was bidding, but it probably could have been KKR trying to get him back. But yeah, it's just him who got the only other bids. That's one of the reasons I saw him being pushed ahead of Glenn Phillips, because Phillips had base price, which is also crazy. Superman, Benjamin Phillips going at base price. Nah, man, that's some disrespect, but it's an incredible bargain buy. So there's also that to consider. And Shamar wasn't seen as right to match, but it's still also at base price. I mean, the good thing to come out of it was that the other team who put up the bid for Shamar to make Lucknow go for the right to match was also Mumbai. which is very good because when you consider that Mumbai has 84 different franchise leagues across the globe, you run the risk of Shamar being seen as someone like Trent Bolt, who just being flung into every team, playing regardless, just swapping from league to league within a span of months. Or it could work out, he could get to all that experience and it could probably build him up to be a fairly good T20 bowler. So there's that. But the more likely option is that man could end up like Jofra Archer and fighting up for fitness every single day. Man could just get burnt out and just be struggling. And you notice like a man is also fighting up with injury. He recovered from his mashup toe. I think he's also going through shin splint right now because he didn't play in the Bangladesh. No, he did play in the Bangladesh series, but he didn't play in the Pakistan series. And the only time we'll see him in cricket will probably be for the Australia series, maybe the West Indies A team. But yeah, he's been out for a while, so you have to assume man is fighting up with recovery still. So yeah, that's really it. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's just a sad video. It's just me going over all our big West Indies men and saying I don't see them starting. Yeah, these times are tougher. But in terms of who I'd like to see, should at least be given at least half of the games, or rather play a full season, hopefully. Shamar's probably the one I'd like to see. It's probably the bigger gamble, but I feel like that would be nice to see. But to the batters, it's probably Rutherford, just because I have a lot more stocks in him as it is right now, mostly just because of what he's done with ODI cricket. I mean, man's been really good. So there's always that consideration of being someone who he can be that finisher, but you could also count on him to give you maybe like a 30 from 20 and turn that into like a 60 from 35 or something. So there's always that too. But yeah, big up to all these men for getting deals. It's only the 4, but yeah, times are tough. But that being said, there are quite a few other West Indians who did play in the IPL last year and were not picked up this year. So that begs the question, where are they? And that's why I come to this. Surprise, there's going to be a part 3 to this. Because everyone who did not get picked up in the IPL, while some of them are off playing 4-day championship, which is good, don't get me wrong, some of them were picked up in PSL, which is running during the same time as IPL this year. So yeah, a lot of them will be in cricket action probably beginning of April. So you just have to swap channels and you'll see a good bit of West Indians playing. Yeah. There's a good section I want to discuss because we've got 3 men up in the same team. So it'll be funny to see just an entire West Indies core playing. So yeah, that'll be fun discussion. That video will probably come out, what day is it? Yeah, if PSL starts beginning of April, you might see this in a week or 2. I also don't know when this video is going up. I put out the video talking about the retained players on Thursday. So I'm going to try and get this video out on Friday. If you see it Friday, then everything worked out. If you see it Saturday when IPL already started, then things just then real stress. If this video goes up on Sunday, just comment a whole set of stuff like Stink Trini, man, knockout after eating doubles. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I really hope this doesn't go up on Sunday. Just imagine you see me talking about all these players, and then you see all these other teams end up playing, and some of them made the 11, and some of them didn't. Yeah, jokes. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that. But oh well, that's it for today. Yeah, you'll see a quote-unquote part 3 to this soon enough. I give it like a week or 2, but yeah, hopefully all goes well. Thank you for your time, folks. This has been another lovely episode of the Scoop Shot. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Get a big up to get 50. I don't know what I'll do for that, but there'll be something. But yeah, I'll also be sure to join in for the WereWolf Hour live Saturdays and Sundays. I'm trying to stick to Sunday just because things will work out. There's not much West Indies cricket to discuss now, but there's always something to talk about in the world of cricket, good and bad. So yeah, thank you all. I shall see you all soon. Adios. Goodbye.